Well, hello everyone. This is me, Sandy Saxena, with a popular webinar called Ignite with Sandy. I hope you remember that. And we're on the Celestia platform, which is a platform for empowerment of women. And when I say empowerment of women, I'm talking about knowledge, I'm talking about what we should do, how we should guide ourselves, exchange information to make our life easier, more successful, happier, and so many other things. And as you know, every week I have a very interesting guest because you know what? Ignite with Sandy is all about bringing you lots and lots of information, which is going to be very useful and also very relevant. So, my guest today is going to take us and sort of guide us and give us information about something that we all love, that we all want to be involved in. And whether we like it or not, we have to use it. Yes, I'm talking about information technology. I'm talking about our computers, what we have to do online, and this, that, and the other. Now, a lot of us, and me especially, I'm like petrified because I'm too scared to put in information about myself. I'm too scared to do financial transactions and all of that. So I hesitate. And so I thought I must bring on somebody who can actually take this fear away of ignorance, of introducing us about telling us about what is actually happening. Now, a lot of us have heard of this word blockchain. And of course, we all know about cryptocurrencies. Yes, we want to get rich overnight. We want to do this. We want to do that. But a lot of us hesitate. And that is because we are not comfortable. We don't know. So we have to keep something in mind. We have to learn. We have to know because that is the way forward. And if we don't do it, we're just going to be left by the wayside because everything is going to advance. And when it's technology, you know as well as I do, that what was relevant yesterday is no longer relevant maybe a month from now. So I have a lady who, when I interviewed her some time ago for an award, I was blown away by this young woman who was so confident, who had so much information. And I was very, very impressed. And I thought to myself, I have to have her on my show. But it was very difficult because she's very busy. Anyway, I've got her now. And so, as is my usual way of bringing on my guest, I never give you their name, but I get them to introduce themselves. And so, I'm going to bring on my guest. And there she is now. And
Hey,
could you please introduce yourself, my dear, and tell us a little bit about what you do?
sure. Glad to see you, Sandy, and thank you for having me here. Myself, I'm Sristhi Assudani, and I'm currently the blockchain region lead for IEEE for the Asia Pacific region. And I have 17 years of experience into technology sales, largely in the last 3 years working on blockchain and digital assets, working with the executives, C-level executives, helping them in the transformation engagements, creating new business models, doing the solution advisory as well as consulting across sectors, not limiting to financial services, capital markets, including supply chain, consumer goods, public sector. And prior to that, of course, I had worked in the real estate sector, again in the consulting, uh, where working with clients in creating tech solutions, solving problems, helping them enable efficiencies using the technology infrastructure, which you call information technology, like you simply said. So glad to be here and happy and looking forward to this engaging conversation with you.
Okay, so Srishti, for all our viewers, could you please tell us why did you go into this field? And you are a relatively a young person. Okay, so how did you reach this level in a pretty short time?
Sure. So, Sandy, like I said, that I've been working in the real estate sector across domains. I started with operations, sales and operations role. I then went on to an entrepreneur role where I worked with smart cities, corporate fit outs, helping them in consulting engagements, designing energy efficiency solutions, and then, of course, creating SaaS solutions for the industry. That's when actually one of our clients actually reached out for how we could, democratize access to real estate investment, because real estate in itself is one of the biggest asset class. It's $1 trillion market globally,
Yes.
right? And when building a new project, there's a lot of capital investment required. And so that's when I actually started reading about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and how this technology can actually help in enabling efficiencies and in reducing costs. That's how I got started in 2020 when I was working with a client. I got very engrossed in it, uh, got through, read all the white papers, the Bitcoin, Ethereum, got engaged. And I was very lucky to have this opportunity where a European startup was actually setting their base in India, where they were setting up a delivery center of excellence for the global operations, and they were looking for a business leader to scale their business and the operations, and that's when I officially started, and yeah, that's been it's been 3 years now.
Okay, so Srishti, can you tell us what is blockchain?
So I'll make it very simple. So what first want to start with, because since we're talking about users,
Yes,
and very native users, right? Maybe using technology, but not even using the Web 2 technology promptly.
yes.
What we need to understand, the internet is actually evolving. We started, and there are different phases. This was like one of the things I wanted to share is when we started with static pages, right, where the information could only be written and read. But we progressed, and we came to the realm of social media, where there is dynamic information, where we can interact, and we can have conversations. We can digitally transfer information across the globe. So that's a barrier that we crossed, where data and information can travel globally. But this is like the next revolution, which is actually called the Web 3. So the first phase,
Okay,
which I called, is called Web 1, where only static information, like just web pages, right? That's the 1980s era.
okay,
And then we talk about 2000s, where we started with the social media area, we moved to e-commerce, we moved to Twitter, we need to LinkedIn, Facebook, and information flowing digitally across, right? We have these Zoom sessions, we don't need to be in the same area, right? The information, whether it is video or it's an audio, is transferring. Now, the third iteration of the internet, which is called the Web 3, essentially is an amalgamation of multiple technologies, where blockchain is an essential part, metaverse is an essential part, and there is another in technologies involved in the technology infrastructure, where we're trying to bring in ownership, and a participation in the internet, and that's going to be revolutionary, right? So
okay,
if the central authorities can be removed, it can be decentralized, and value can be transmitted over the internet. That's
okay,
and that's why blockchain or crypto is called the Internet of Value, right?
okay,
So money being transferred. So now, if I have to transfer some money to my friend in Dubai, it will take 2 to 4 days, right? But if it's in a value, like if you're using crypto, it can be done instantaneously. So I just want to put a base to that, to context that
okay,
how the internet is moving. But to answer your question, what is exactly blockchain technology? So in very simple terms, you can think of this to be a ledger, or
okay,
like a notebook, right? A digital notebook, where people can update their transactions happening globally in a
okay,
secure and verified manner. What it means is, like, when you have an organization, they are maintaining their records. These transactions can be values, can be assets, that and it can be anything happening, trade happening between two parties. It's individual parties maintaining it. So
okay,
there are frictions between, how these transactions can be mapped, or there's some paperwork happening. But if the ledger is transparent,
hmm,
that the network can be accessed in a transparent manner, in a publicly open manner, open source manner, then and
Absolutely.
it's verifiable, then the innovation that it can bring is enormous. And this is what I'm talking about, the back end infrastructure, right? So blockchain is a ledger where records are or are maintained, and it's essentially in the entire application stack, it's the back end infrastructure which is being used to build different use cases and delivery models.
Okay. So, when we are looking at this, so if we're taking banking,
Hmm.
right? So I think now most of the banks are using this technology because we can transfer funds from here to there to different parts of the world. And this is the technology behind it that gives us the security and the verifications, etc., for us to be able to conduct this. So it makes it faster, it makes it more secure, and it's also user friendly. Is it
Yeah.
user friendly?
Um, so user friendly would not be a term that can be associated as of now, Sandy, frankly. And what I would definitely want to mention here that this is a very nascent technology, right? It's even on the Gartner hype cycle, we are really evolving from 2008 to now 5 years. We are moving towards production rollouts. What are production rollouts is where actually the applications is being used for commercial use by enterprises. It's an era which has started now, where
Okay.
the awareness and the adoption is inherent. People understand that the technology has a lot to offer. That's not something that needs to be pitched, but now it is being used. So when we say that blockchain is actually being used with the banks, yes, there's a lot of pilots, there's a lot of POCs being done, and some production rollouts which are being done specifically in the banking sector, in the financial services sector, where value would actually be transmitted to the end user in the form of the investments actually that they can do. So even in the banking sector, there's actually, we can kind of segregate it in two wings. One is the banking and financial services, and then there is the decentralized finance, which we call DeFi, which is an amazing open financial system for the users.
Okay. All right. So now we come to cryptocurrency. So there's a lot of excitement about it. There's a lot of, uh, coins going up and down, and Bitcoin being mined and all of that. So for the rather ignorant, can you please just take us, what are the steps, like what is cryptocurrency? How can I use it? How can I, cash and cash it, etc., etc.? And I know there's Bitcoin, and then there's Ethereum, I think, and some other ones which are quite popular. And then, of course, everybody is jumping on the bandwagon, as we were discussing earlier, and coming up with their own cryptocurrency. So, can you just take us step by step through this cryptocurrency maze?
Sure. So the tech, essentially blockchain tech, if it is used in a public manner, which means an open source way, we can create assets, and these assets will have a value associated. Like what I'm talking about again and again is there is one which is an internet of data. This is the internet of value, where any information being transferred will have an inherent value associated with it.
Okay.
So crypto assets is nothing, or cryptocurrencies are nothing but assets which are built on blockchain,
Okay.
and maintained on the technology, and they also leverage smart contracts for any kind of updations happening. And how this whole thing is managed is, again, that would be a little technical, but on the blockchain there is a governance structure which ensures that it's decentralized. And this is
Okay.
not the only form, right? So you have cryptocurrencies, you're having stable coins, you have CBDCs. So there are different form of digital assets which are being created. So what the technology essentially does is that you can add an inherent value. And now there is also the concept of soul born tokens, if you've heard SBTs. That's something that Ethereum
Okay.
has launched last year. where I as an individual can, have my own token, and there can be a money transfer between me and, say, for example, my friend who was in Switzerland, and we can maintain that ledger, and the transfer of the value can be done in an instantaneous manner and in a very transparent manner. So these are essentially tokens which are maintaining the ledger and the transactions, and having a value. Now, when we talk about this is just the base part of it, but when we say that, the value is going up and what is happening, so all this is, again, we need to understand, this is, again, these are currencies which are being created, right? So any other currency or any money currency is actually led by the macroeconomics, right? It's also led about the user base. What is the business capabilities? What is the user? So when we talk about cryptocurrencies, people investing in cryptocurrencies, what is essential for us as a user to understand is that we really
Yes.
need to see what the currency is essentially doing. Of course, the currency might be transferring value. It can be a governance token for the project, but what is the project doing? What is the value proposition? How is the value being added? How is the user base? What is the founders team? These are certain things that you need to check, and then, of course, accordingly, the value of the token is marked depending upon the supply demand curve, which is
Okay.
like any other currency value.
Okay, so the other part that I've noticed that which is becoming very popular with the Web3 and all of this is to do with the medical, medical records, consultancies, all kinds of things. And I've sort of been attending some events where people have been doing presentations basically to get investment. So, would you be able to shed some light on that and how it is developing now with the new technology, this Web3?
Absolutely. I think healthcare is one of the sectors which is leveraging this technology in a very strong manner. And in 2021, when we had COVID, we had actually seen that there is a drastic need for any kind of innovation happening. One, on the supply chain side, because there are so many frictions happening, and also on the fact that within organizations, which when we talk about organizations, it can be hospitals, it can be medical colleges, it can be any kind of healthcare institutes. There is the digital transformation is actually missing. Leave about blockchain tech, that's another part of it, but digital transformation is a very important part. And that, I think, has been realized with the scenario which happened in the COVID, and with blockchain tech specifically. What is important and what can be done is that we can trace the solutions, the upstream solutions. We can check the APIs, and how the API agreements, active product ingredients, for any kind of product which is being made. And that is actually very important for users nowadays when they are using, when they are buying a product.
Hmm.
What is the active product ingredient? What is the sustainability? And the entire traceability can be mapped on that. And this has also been mandated by the US FDA,
Okay.
that these traceability checks needs to be done. That's one use case. And another one which we had actually delivered a project in India was for an asset management in Uttarakhand state, where we integrated this with patient management system. So
Okay.
along with managing the assets, also what we were able to do is that, the profiling of the medical visits for a patient
Yeah.
can be integrated, and the advice can be integrated. So not only your assets are being managed, they can be maintained across 7 hospitals, but also integrated with the hospital management system. So
Okay.
so that's an amazing use case that we did for one of our clients in the Uttarakhand state in India.
Yeah, because this is something that will enable a lot of people who do not have access to hospitals or to even clinics, and if they have a good internet connection, from what I understand, and maybe a kiosk where they can go and have their blood pressure read or something like that. This is what I have been observing from the presentations that were done, that we can actually take specialists to remote areas only because that they are accessible through the net. So I think that that's one of the main I think advantages that this is bringing in. So my next question is this: since everything is remote, everything is on the net, um, where does it leave people who are looking for jobs, people who are looking for employment? You know, the big structures that we have now, the corporate structures and all of that. Since a lot of thing is going digital, where does the human contribution go in terms of jobs, etc.? How do you find, is there going to be a challenge in that, and we're going to become sort of redundant?
Um, I don't think so that we'll become redundant. Absolutely, I think the roles would definitely change. And that has been happening for the last decade also. You know, the kind of management that we're doing now, we are using so many CRM tools. We are using so many tools for development. There are so many code repositories. So there's a lot of automation that is happening, where it's become simple to deliver solutions, and the timeline has reduced. But
Hmm.
now with AI coming, of course, a lot of interpretational work, consulting work is kind of again simplified. I would say, I think people need to be on the edge, need to learn the new tech, and kind of, keep updating themselves with the new technological advances. I would not say that, the man force would become redundant for sure. It's just that we need to be kind of re-innovating the wheel, reinventing the wheel again and again, and the roles and how we are actually doing solutions would change. I mean, could you have imagined we doing a webinar on, you're sitting in Dubai, I'm sitting in Delhi in India, and we are interacting, having such a lovely conversation 10 years back? I guess not.
Yes,
So
very true, very true. But Shrishti, one of the things that, like, for example, there could be quite a few viewers who are watching or who will watch later. When you're talking about education, going to university, going to schools. So, where are you seeing this technology? Is it being very well implemented in the educational system? Because that's where you're going to learn everything, correct?
absolutely. I think one of the biggest use case here is of digital identity credentials. What is happening, Sandy, right? We are kind of tied up with our identity. It can be a LinkedIn profile, it can be a Facebook profile, one is a bank profile. There's so many identities that we are maintaining, right? And it's become kind of very cumbersome to maintain these identity. One, also from an employment perspective, what happens is, like, if I have to have a, apply for a job, I need to give my credentials of my college. These are going to be some
Yes.
manuscripts, some paperwork. This is nothing which is digital, right? It's not verifiable. How, and if it's an employment record, it might not be verifiable because maybe the company I worked with is not no longer present if it's a startup. So that's a really good use case that we have with blockchain, where it's a digital identity credentials, where we can have verifiable credentials which will be living on the blockchain, can be verified by anyone on the globe, having and also they use a way where, a self disclosure reference can be done. So I can share with you my credentials, that I'm actually applicable for this role, or I can with my relevant skills, but I might not want to show you what I have done in maybe in an operations profile. I can restrict sharing that information.
Okay.
I can go to a restaurant and share that I am eligible. I'm above 18, but I would not need to disclose my age. I don't need to show my identity, and it's kind of privacy safe, preserving the privacy using SSID solutions, using GK solutions, zero knowledge proof solutions, multiple other solutions which are there. So that's one thing, and one thing another.
It's okay. Just look at your message after we finish talking. Carry on, carry on. I'm sorry to interrupt because there's a disturbance on the mic.
Okay, sorry. Is it better now?
Yeah, I think it needs to be kept away because there's something interference coming from your mic.
Okay, I am not wearing a mic.
Okay, maybe I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. Please carry on. You know,
Yeah.
we're not that advanced in technology. We're still
No.
pretty. So it's okay. And anybody who's watching, it doesn't matter. I'm sure we all go through these glitches, and we're having you over there to tell us how we can get more advanced and not have these glitches. So that please do continue. We were
Sure.
talking about the educational system, and how we are able to now control a lot more of what can be shared or should be shared.
Yes, absolutely. Another use case which I wanted to mention, like you mentioned a health tech use case, which I've
Yes.
actually not seen. If that's something that can happen, it can be, I definitely need to speak with our clients on innovating that. But that's something which is actually happening in DeFi, which is decentralized finance, where financial services can actually be provided over the internet. And that's the actual use of these cryptos, which are being enabled for different use cases. It can be for lending, it can be borrowing, and these are actually providing different yields or investment returns to the solutions. So you can borrow, you can have a loan, you might not have an Aadhaar or you might not have a social identity, but you can have an internet connection, you can have a wallet right now, take a wallet, and you can get a loan from these institutions, and that's actually kind of helping more than 7% of the global population who are not having access to the financial services
Yeah.
as on date, like in 2023. So that's the one of the revolutionary tech actually, which a part of it is also being used for social good, in any kind of collapses. So if the Ukraine happened in COVID, the founder of Ethereum actually had transferred a lot of help in the form of cryptocurrency funds to people in India and other states in a matter of seconds. And that's the actual value, that you can help over the internet with respect to transferring of the value. And other use cases which I can share maybe in a while, maybe if you have a question next.
Okay, now the other part that I'd like to talk about, because you talked about the education, and a lot of courses now being done online, and if there is a problem somewhere, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be physically present, because you can do a lot of stuff online and submit all your papers online. So all these big colleges all over the world, in these fabulous, beautiful campuses and buildings, do you think these are still going to be relevant 25, 30 years from now?
Um, I feel yes. I feel yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, that's more of a personal feeling, because I think, and that's more coming from, we migrating to remote hybrid works, but, the kind of course, the work doesn't stop, but the human presence and the human interactions definitely have an added uh, value. But again, technology has kind of metamorphosed that using metaverse where your avatar can be present anywhere, you can digitally have perceive the presence, you can perceive all senses.
Yeah.
Yes, technology is going to replace most of the things that human can do, but I still feel that there would still be human to human interactions happening, but the methods would dramatically change.
Yes.
The manners would dramatically change. The standard operating procedures would change a lot.
Okay, so you mentioned metaverse. Oh yes, that's the big one now. Everybody's talking about it, and you have hundreds of Facebook groups which are related to metaverse and whatever else. So for me, the uninitiated, and many of us, could you please explain what is the metaverse?
Yeah, so I think the metaverse is the new internet again, the Web3, like the basis which I said, where you can perceive your presence in the digital world, and including your you can feel all your senses. So there can be enablement through haptic gloves, where you can actually touch and feel the person. So
Oh,
right, and even water, those are senses. Smell, these are all, we are having senses, we're having technology that we can actually digitally utilize this, and there's so many use cases, like you're talking about the education. Will it be replaced? I think partly it will not be replaced, it will be kind of modified, where we are creating digital rooms which would be replicas of the individual rooms. Your avatar can come in, and the teacher can teach there, and it can be, there can be scenario modeling happening, which happens with
Okay.
digital twins, right? So, and these are things where we'll have get a lot of operational efficiencies. How? Because there's going to be a lot of data and analytics that can be mapped when you're using it digitally, rather
Okay.
when you use it through a human to human, you're not able to map the analytics, right? There can be no KPIs that can be marked on. There can be no metrics that can be measured. But that's the efficiencies that will come if we're moving into the metaverse world. We're interacting with the avatars, and we have our own space, right? We can actually, using the technology, try on the goggles, try on the dresses, virtual dresses, have our own collectibles, and so many things, right?
Yeah. So, in fact, I attended an event here in Dubai at the Dubai Design District, and it was about fashion in the metaverse. And I couldn't
Yes.
understand what it was because I wasn't too aware. But of course, now you've made it pretty clear. But it was a very interesting thing for me to see, and I could tell the innovation, but I don't think we were quite ready for that because that company or that project that was introduced didn't really go far because I think the level of understanding was too low. So, how do you feel about this metaverse? When do you think it will become more, should I say, used by people around the world? How will it grow, and how fast will it grow? Because obviously technology is like at the speed of light.
So I think fashion and retail is, I think, one of the best use case for metaverse, because that's where actually, we are reducing cost of these shows, which there is huge budgets allocated for the shows where the fashion shows are happening. So now, how that would help, if you're having these digital shows, we can also, kind of trade, because using the blockchain tech. So it's not just the virtual thing which can be visible. You can interact, but you can also trade. So that's the
Okay.
beauty, right? So I can physically see your avatar, I can also touch you, I can also hug you. And if you are having a stall where you're having these, say for example, some dresses, I can try on those dresses. If I like it, I can, you'll have your wallet over there, I'll have my wallet, I can transfer the money, and yes, it's done, bingo. So so that's the way. I mean, that's just a use case scenario of how it will happen in the digital world, how it is actually happening. It is being used in the fashion world, but yes, it's still very very nascent, Sandy. With respect even to the tech,
Hmm.
there's a lot of improvisation with regard to the computing which is required for this, and I think NVIDIA is one of the leading players working on this, on the different GPUs which are required. If we want to actually stream this kind of data live, the computational requirement is very high. So this
Okay.
is work which is happening in progress, and it's going to take some time, I think.
Okay, so now we are the end users, right? So, what is your advice to people like me in different parts of the world who are wanting to make use of this, wanting to be part of it? What do we have to do to educate ourselves in order to make better use and optimum use of what is coming or what is already there? What would your guidelines be for us, the end user?
Um, I think one of the things that we need to be really aware of is, as an end user, is of all the different techs which are coming and how they're actually enabling improvisations, whether that be a cloud computing, whether that be a blockchain tech, whether that is a metaverse, or that is AI and ML, which are being, I think that's a big thing which is happening in this decade with the LLM models. But as retail users, I think one, we definitely need to be aware of what people are doing. There's a lot of work that enterprises are doing, and there's a lot of competent work that startups are doing to enable adoption. As retail users, if specifically in the blockchain world, if you want to get involved in the crypto, there's need to be a lot of work in understanding the ecosystem,
Mm.
as is if you compare with the stock market, right? So you do understand the business model, you do understand, you do listen to podcasts, you also listen to the quarterly updates to kind of understand whether this is the right stock or equity I need to invest in. That's the similar in a cryptocurrency. You really need to understand what the company is doing, what they're working on, what are the partnerships that are happening, what is the founding team, what are their goals, their visions, and that's when you can actually get involved in this ecosystem, whether it's the blockchain cryptocurrency ecosystem or it's the DeFi ecosystem, it's the metaverse ecosystem. All this is like the alternate currency which is being created, and Bitcoin is actually being, there's a lot of conversational debate happening on whether Bitcoin would be similar to a gold standard. Is that going to happen in the next 2 3 years? So we definitely need to educate ourselves. There are a lot of free courses available on Udemy, on blockchain. There's a lot on Linux Foundation. Do understand what the value is, how this tech is actually functioning at the base level, right? It's a ledger, right?
Yes.
Uh, Compared to a database, what is the value that it is bringing, and how these applications that will actually give you confidence on what we're trying to do. And it's a really tough task that I think few people in the world are taking to bring these solutions. We need a lot of support from the regulatories,
Yes.
and that's India is like against crypto. So we are working more on the DLT side, on the blockchain side, but countries like Dubai, UAE, Singapore, Switzerland, US. So the regulatory landscape, I think, is very, I think not US, but the rest of the regulatory landscape is very promising for people working on the virtual digital assets.
Yes, especially the UAE and Dubai, especially.
Yes.
There's a lot of things happening here on blockchain, metaverse, cryptocurrency. You name all of this, and there are conferences. There are a lot of discussions. There are a lot of things happening, and I think they're also enabling the end user to come and learn, to come and take courses to become more aware of what it is. And even in the real estate sector in the UAE, they are now, some of them are accepting cryptocurrencies for
Oh,
payment.
that's amazing. And
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that, that
They sort
that's
of are advertising that, in when they're sending out their literature, saying that yes, we do accept it. I'm sure they have their KYC and all the legal
yeah, yeah.
things in place. Uh,
KYC, AML, it's all being integrated,
yeah,
and what we really need to understand that this is like people are actually creating an ecosystem. These currency can only be used if you have applications. Like if I have a currency, if I cannot use it, if I can use it as e-commerce, or if I can use it as for buy a flight or maybe a bank, that's when actually these currencies will prosper. And that's why the application infrastructure is really working hard on the utilization of these currencies.
yes, absolutely. So, with that wonderful information on giving it to us in a very simplified manner, making
Thank
us
you.
feel a little more secure that yes, we can actually go out there and do our courses, learn more, so that we remain relevant. Because I think one of the most important things is relevance. We as individuals need to be relevant, because everything else is moving fast, and if we don't make that effort to learn, to understand, and to use, we are going to get left behind. So thank you very much, Srishti, for giving us an
Much.
insight into what we should be doing and how we should be doing. So with that, we'll bring us to the end of our interview, the webinar with you. And I hope you come back again with more information. I look forward to having you. And we are a platform where we do a lot of things for, what should I say? We do a lot of stuff where we are educating our end users. So we have a magazine called the Celestia Magazine. For anybody who's watching us today, please feel free to reach out to us so that perhaps you can share more of your information. We could profile you. We could give you a platform where you can come and talk about, educate, build awareness. so that more ladies will come to know what is happening in the world today, because Celestia is all about being relevant, and Ignite with Sandy is all about bringing you interesting people, ladies from all over the world, different walks of life, so that we provide you with something that is thought provoking, something that will prompt you to take action, and of course, come back and watch us again. So, from me, Sandy, this is Ignite with Sandy and Celestia platform signing off. Please do remember, you know what? You're supposed to go to our YouTube page, you're supposed to subscribe, you're supposed to watch, you're supposed to like, and of course, we'd love to hear, and not hear, sorry, see your comments. So until next week, from me, bye bye.